So we're recording.
All right. Let's start it.
Yeah, sure.
Let's start it.
We should start it.
All right, let's go.
Is this the part where we talk about fading in, or how does that work?
No.
Okay. So, hello again, and welcome to Sama X Kouhai. I am Kouhai-Sensei.
And I'm Schultzie-Sama.
And today, we're actually going to react to the Crunchyroll Anime Awards nominees. We're going to talk about the shows they picked, and the methods that they use to pick their judges, as well as how much actual fan base input they use to pick the nominees that they then only allow the community to vote on. So,
Yeah. All seems pretty fine to me. Looks like a pretty good job.
let's leave the sarcasm at the door.
All right.
So essentially, Crunchyroll, which is, from what I understand, the largest North American anime streaming site, decided to put out for I guess the third year, they're going to do a best of anime for 2018, and give out anime awards in different categories. And there is a lot going over the list. There's a lot of, I guess, categories that I feel are missing, and Schultzie-Sama does as well as there are some issues that we have with how they went about doing everything. So
Yeah, I mean, so already compared to last year, the categories last year,
yeah,
they were definitely a lot better.
I would agree with that assessment. I mean, essentially, what we have now is a couple of problematic categories, as well as leaving a lot of different categories that would highlight different genres, like just high and dry.
Right.
So,
It definitely feels like the categories are a lot more
broad.
generic.
Yeah, broad, generic, vague.
Yeah.
So, what we want to do first is go over their release. You can find this on their website. I'm going to link it in the description on how the Anime Awards nominees got picked. They went for a little bit. They have an introduction paragraph, and then they go into a little bit of detail about their nominees and nominee selection, as well as some information on the categories. They did truthfully carry over a lot of the categories from last year, and a lot of that stuff is definitely viable as far as what the choices they can make are.
Yeah, and I feel like some of those are fine. The problem is a lot of the new categories, almost all of them, are
highly problematic.
Are very subjective.
Yeah.
Like it basically comes down to what you personally think is best.
Right, and which is kind of the point. But I don't think that with what they chose for the new categories, or how they chose the judges, or had let the judges choose the animes, really reflects what the community likes and will respond to.
It doesn't reflect it at all, because the judges they chose like 21 people to pick the nominees.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Whereas, there probably a better scenario would have been to have just based either off ratings or off of a mass voting system to pick nominees, and then have the judges narrow it down from there, which allowed some niche categories and some niche choices, which I don't really see where some of these arrive, and as well as some snubs of some very popular animes.
I mean, I still think that the community should have picked the nominees and also picked the winners as well. It should have been all community based.
Yeah.
Instead of the way that they had their voting system with the judges, which seems a little
little odd. We're going to go into detail on that. But essentially, as a breakdown from last year, you know, you had several categories. You had like best drama, best comedy, etc. And a lot of that stuff is gone. You know, it used to follow the formula of like the Hollywood shows with the Oscars. You had, you know, best comedy, best drama, best, you know, action movie, whatever the case is. Not anymore. You have some protagonist and antagonist categories, best boy or best girl, which are, you know, valid categories. And, you know, voice actor performance I get, but best director and best animation and best character design I think are all pretty flawed as far as like the categories, because there's so many different aspects to each of those categories that what really, you know, honestly, what really makes those categories the best, and all of that's going to be subjective.
Yeah, I mean, the real issue, I think, is between best director and best character design.
Yeah.
It seems funny to me that all the new categories have the most problems.
Yeah.
What turns out to be.
Yeah. So, in essence, they didn't want to have animes that were eligible for multiple categories. So instead of defining what anime fell into each category the most, they decided that they weren't going to have categories. And then they brought in stuff that is... Well, let's just get into it.
Yeah.
So...
Let's talk about how the judges went around voting.
Yes, starting with that, you know, each judge, which they contacted, got a list of anime, I guess, from Crunchyroll, and then they were assigned a fixed number. Each judge had a fixed number of points across all eligible anime series per category. So, like, say for example, if there were 15 series in a category, a judge could presumably award, if they had 10 points, 3 votes to one, 2 votes to another, 1 vote, so on and so forth. Or they could totally lump sum all of their votes on one anime if they really felt that anime deserved it.
Basically, what could happen is...
What did happen?
What did happen is a judge could put all their votes and basically force something that they really enjoyed or really thought should win, and force it to the second round, which means a lot of underdogs could potentially make it to the second round and push out a lot of other
more deserving
viable contenders for those categories. In which case, what ends up happening in the second round is when they get to that voting again, a lot of the other judges didn't have their ones go in because, you know, they're voting correctly.
Yeah.
And so they end up voting for
the remaining categories that were they already had votes stacked for.
Yeah. So it becomes very, very lopsided. It
does.
It's not a good way to go about it.
On their page about it, they literally admitted that one judge, an individual judge, quote, could all but ensure that a show with lower awareness could make it to the second round of judging, giving the other judges time to review or watch a contender so they can make an even better decision in the second round, while making sure there was a semblance of agreement between judges on what the final list of 6 nominees per category looked like. So they could force their low viewership, low likable personal choice above other more deserving shows just based on how they allocated their votes. Not really representing the community and what the community's desires were. And they did get a lot of different shows in the round of voting than they did in the previous years, and that is a true statement. But the question is whether or not some of these shows that got included deserve to be included for the categories they were included in, and as well as whether or not some shows that were definitely deserving to be, in our opinion, and in popular opinion based on ratings, included, got snubbed for, narrative reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they talked about how there was communication, the system that led to more communication, even if it's one directional, which is, kind of an oxymoron, as Schultzie-Sama brought up, because by definition, communication is two-way.
It's just everything. It doesn't make sense.
No.
Nothing here makes sense. I don't understand why they would do something like this and then have the community vote on the nominees that was picked by these judges that apparently aren't even like they're just doing it for what they thought was their own personal reasons, basically.
Yeah.
Like, they're being completely subjective and not objective. There also seems to be absolutely zero criteria for each of the categories besides a generic 4 rules that is just included in every single category.
Yeah, so the Rule 1, the nominee must be an animated series. Well, duh. Rule 2, primary production for the show took place in Japan. Also a given. Rule 3, was broadcast in Japan, in part in Japan, either on television or online, which also makes sense. And the 4th one, at least
one episode was legally distributed in the U.S. in 2018, which, yeah, sure, makes sense. The problem is, this was for every single category. That was the only criteria for every single category. So,
yeah.
Honestly, you could choose something that had nothing to do with the category and force it in.
Yeah, basically.
Which makes a whole lot of sense to me.
And then the judges that they used, I've being searched the first 3, because they published the names of the judges that they used, and I found one reference to one article where a guy critiqued the CG animation in a Godzilla.
In that new Godzilla show on Netflix.
Yeah, in an article in the Japan Times, which, okay, but that doesn't necessarily stand up to their claim of these people having anime credentials,
quote unquote anime credentials.
Yeah,
in which they say. What was it? A side note, yes, anime credentials is a thing.
The animated credentials, I guess, should be a thing.
Sure.
But perhaps, dealing with an audience that chooses, that by their own action chooses what they like and what they don't like, they could have reached out to other content creators who host, weekly, monthly, or daily shows about the anime in question, versus merely press writers that happen to be in the entertainment industry and generically.
I don't even think that's correct. Like, it should. We don't have a lot of people here that actually have the credentials to judge things like this.
You're not wrong. In the United States, there really aren't that many people involved in the production.
Like, the best we have are people that
live and breathe anime.
No, the people that are like film critics or things like that. Basically, the people that are critics professionally, right?
Yeah, the professional critics
films for normal movies
over a lot of genres that have nothing to do with anime.
Yeah, that's pretty much the best in the professional world that we have in the United States.
Right, and we still see a huge disparity in some cases between, for example, the review site Rotten Tomatoes, between what critics think of what a movie or a show is, versus what the audience actually likes. And that's kind of our complaint, is that all the people that we've talked to personally, there's a lot of disparity in between the categories, the nominations that we got, versus what's actually expected and what's popular.
Yeah. And I guess if it's popular, it shouldn't. I don't know. The whole thing should have just been community based. Then you could have whatever categories you want, and you could have basically whatever nominees you want because it's all community based.
Yeah.
And the winners are just chosen by the community as well. It doesn't. I don't know why they had to only have 21 people pick the nominees. That doesn't seem right.
21 people that they claim are related to the anime business and have anime credentials, which I can't find. So, granted, the small sample category that I actually looked up. So, They do say that they're going to have some other categories, doing some fan run voting.
Which sounds to me like they're trying to put a Band-Aid on this whole thing.
Yeah, because I think this article was released after.
Oh yeah.
After the awards and the nominations were announced, so people were, apparently looking at the nominations and be like, "How did you come up with these categories? And how did you come up with these nominations for these categories?" So they put out an article trying to justify everything.
And it didn't really
And while it explains it, this is definitely an explanation. I don't think there's a justification for what they've done when they certainly could have come up with something better.
Yeah, it just seems like that. It's more like they're trying to stay neutral. Like they're trying to make themselves seem neutral. Like they didn't have any decision making, which they didn't have any decision making in this. So it makes it look
like it's impartial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also doesn't make. They're trying to make it so that any decisions that happened wasn't because of them, and they won't get backlash.
Right. But they're also presenting these awards to their subscribers, their users, and there are a lot of shows that are nominated and have and will win these awards that aren't even available on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few.
Now,
which is.
I get that they're trying to be larger than what they actually are. If you can't get licensing, you can't get licensing.
Right.
So there's not really a whole lot that you're going to be able to do about that. But because they're producing the awards show for their fan base, for basically useless internet points, then I would assume that they would have kept the fan base a lot more involved in the decision making process than they did. So. Because the link to the article is going to be in the description, you should definitely read it. It makes a lot of points about the judges' decision-making process, their points allocation, and how it pretty much excuses how some of these lower popularity animes made it into the running. That being said, let's kind of move on to the actual categories themselves. We'll look at the nominees for each category, and see if there's any variance in what we noted that they never listed. Like, say for example, we're on Crunchyroll's website. I'm going to include a link to this as well. And from categories from the top, they have best protagonist. So, best protagonist, you've got, the main character of the story, who was the best main character of the story. They've got 6 people here. They've got Ratsuko from Agretsuko. They've got Yumeko Jabami from Kakegurui. They've got Joe from Megalobox. Violet Evergarden from Violet Evergarden. Rimuru Tempest from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. And Sakura Asuzagawa from Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. So, in this category, I mean, it's fine. You've got main characters from several popular series, and by themselves, there's nothing wrong with this category.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's so far. It starts out that it seems like it's going to be pretty diverse, right?
Right.
Right. We got different genres being shown up in best protagonist.
Different art forms.
Different art. Different styles. It looks good.
Yeah. So I don't really have a problem with this category, and honestly, this is a good category to have.
But no Goblin Slayer mentioned at all in best protagonist.
Yeah. So another thing that is a little bit problematic is that some of these shows are shorts.
One of them.
One of them is a short, and the problem with having a best protagonist in the mainstream because of shorts is that you don't really have as much of a chance to get to know that character, get to know that and see what that character does in a 4-minute episode format as you would in a 25-minute episode format.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that...
I mean, the bar is set really high, right?
Yeah, the bar is set really, really high. And I feel that there's possibly some other good characters that I got to know from regular length series that I just don't feel that the 4-minute episode characters should be in the same category. I think if they're going to include them, they should possibly have like a best shorts category.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then move on to best antagonist, which is basically the person who is against your hero.
Yeah. So Ryo Asuka from Devilman Crybaby, Akane Shinjo from SSSS Gridman, All for One from My Hero Academia, Yuri from Megalobox, Tokushiro Tsurumi from Golden Kamuy, and Momonga from Overlord 3.
Yeah. Now,
for the most part,
not bad choices. But again, we're also seeing a theme where, is it really, like, say for example, let's take All for One from My Hero Academia. Sure, throughout the entire season and actually series, they've talked about this guy and they've led up to him.
Yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing about him.
But he really didn't feature much, and you really didn't see aside from the people that he associated himself with, like his followers, he really didn't come off as a super evil guy.
Right. I mean, his disciple was a better antagonist than he was.
The previous villain, Stain, was a better villain than All for One was.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Stain is probably one of the best antagonists of all time. So
yeah, I mean, he clearly had a motivation. He had he thought he was righteous. Like, nobody goes through in reality. Nobody goes through and says, "Hey, I'm going to be the bad guy." Yeah. Everyone's the hero of your own story. I mean, except for All for One. All for One is just like, "Hey, I'm going to be the bad guy to your good guy."
It just seems like he was picked because we finally got to see him.
Yeah,
is what it seems like.
And then my other issue is Momonga.
So this one's really weird, right? Like, he's a protagonist, but he's also an antagonist, and his personality does kind of shift a lot in the third season.
I get it, and the show gets dark, but he's still like the main character. The show is centered around him. He should, like, whether or not it's a good story or an evil story, doesn't change the protagonist or antagonist role. The antagonist is always the person who you're fighting against, and I feel that Momonga, even if he's shifting to be a more dark character, he's still the protagonist. He's still the person that you identify with.
So basically, this category probably should have stayed as best villain, because that would have made more sense than best antagonist.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But I mean, I could see Momonga just winning this category, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he's likable. That's for sure. Then we'll move on to Best Boy. We've got Kotaro Tatsumi from Zombieland Saga, Honda-san from Skullface Bookseller Honda-san, Izuku Midoriya from My Hero Academia Season 3, Sakuta Asuzagawa from Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, Haida from Agretsuko, and Joe from Megalobox. So we run into a little bit of a situation where, with Joe from Megalobox, he's already been nominated for Best Protagonist, right? Like, I don't see any repeats from any of the other shows, but he's the only repeat in this category. Like, should he really be eligible to be to get this position in multiple categories?
I mean, it's probably fine, but the real problem is, like, what's the criteria?
Yeah.
Like, what's the criteria for Best Boy?
Is it the most relatable person?
Is it just
best male character?
Like, all of these characters have such a different personality that how can you even make a decision? Like, it just comes down to what personality you like the best.
Yeah,
is what it comes down to, and that kind of makes me wonder about how the judging went around for this. Like, at a certain point, if your best boy didn't make it through the judging, I imagine they just stop caring.
Right?
And just vote for whatever, you know?
Well, and the other issue is, again, you have a couple of shorts here with Honda-san and Haida of, how can we really think these guys are best boys when throughout their combined, length of the run of the season, they've only got as much screen time as, like, an episode and a half. Mm. So, how can you really get attached to that character and call him best boy?
I mean, there's a really high bar that has to be set.
Yeah. So, there was another show that I really liked that was like the girl teasing the kid all the time, Nishikata.
What was that? It was the Great Teaser.
Yeah, and that guy, that kid was a little bit of a whiner, but he also, it showed his growth and he developed with it. Every time he got teased, he's like, every time I get teased, I'm gonna do three push-ups. And he's using it to strengthen himself and maintain his discipline, as well as, towards the end of the series, spoiler alert, he actually grows close to his antagonist and decides that he wants to do what he can to continue to sit next to her when the seats get rearranged.
That's getting into like character development.
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't a character development be part of Best Boy?
I don't know, because I don't know what the criteria for best boy is. Like, this is such a generic genre that...
Yeah, what is involved?
Like, it's just completely subjective. It depends on what personality you like.
Yeah. Move on to the
Best girl.
inverse of that, Best Girl.
It has the same problem, like...
Yeah, you want to read them off?
Yeah, okay. So we have Anzu from Hinamatsuri, Hinata Miyaki from A Place Further Than the Universe, Lily Hoshikawa from Zombieland Saga, Serpa from Golden Kamuy, Nadeshiko Kagamihara from Laid Back Camp, and Mai Sakurajima from Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. So obvious winner is Mai, right?
Best waifu, 100%.
Definitely 100% best girl. I know a lot of people were saying Anzu from Hinamatsuri, but they might be... No, they're wrong. They are wrong.
They can be a little bit wrong or a lot of wrong, but in either case, they're wrong. Maya's best girl in this category, but there was also other girls that featured in... Heck, even in romances that came out this year, that weren't... that focus on the girls. They focus on their relationships. They focus on the way they go through life. And they're not even mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, will we ever get a chance to look at the top 12 that they chose to see what they were even considering?
Yeah, probably not, because that'd probably upset us even more.
I mean, I guess we're gonna.
To be honest, again, this is a subjective category, which is why it should stuff like this should be just community voting.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to have 21 people pick the nominees for such a subjective category and then have the community vote on it.
Yeah, I mean they've already narrowed it down. You got to figure every year there's about 100 anime that come across the United States, and they've eliminated 94% of the shows. And if multiple shows have multiple female characters, they've probably eliminated 97% or 98% of the girls that are eligible before we even get a chance to vote. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, like, sure, they say you get to vote and your vote counts, but honestly, going back to the Crunchyroll article on they're picking the judges, they say that the fans votes are going to count for 50% of the final vote, as well as the judges' votes are going to count for 50% of the final vote. So these same 21 people that have narrowed it down, if all of them like somebody, and one of these characters only has 10% of the popular vote from the community, then that character is going to win regardless. So, like, the way that they divided up how the votes are going to count really doesn't speak for letting the community choose either. So, I just...
Honestly, sounds great to me. Sounds like they're doing a good job.
Oh my goodness.
The next one was best opening sequence.
Yeah, so in this one
is actually it's not
pretty
bad.
good.
Yeah. So we got Watakoi,
Love it.
Darling in the Franxx, Kakegurui, Pop Team Epic, Agretsuko, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, and this is a good category to have. If they have the best opening sequence, there's a little bit of confusion there. Are they including just the music from it, or are they including the art that goes along with it?
I imagine it has to be everything. Like
Sure.
If it doesn't include everything in the voting process, then it was done wrong. Like, you can't. It has to be with everything. So, like, for example,
I'd like a best opening sequence, but also like a best opening song.
I guess, but that's not really what this is about, though.
Maybe.
I don't know, but yeah, it. So they picked good ones. I think
they did
picked some really good ones. I don't. A lot of it. There wasn't actually a whole lot of really good opening scenes, from what I remember of in 2018, and well, it seems like this year there've been a ton that have been amazing.
Well, like, say for example, Pop Team Epic. I haven't watched that one.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a short? I mean, if it is, can we count a 30-second short in the same genre as a minute and 30-second opening?
Fine. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if it's
there's
done,
that. I mean, but you also
Like,
So Many Colors in the World had a great opening art sequence, where the music was just kind of forgettable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, the music was forgettable. The animation and everything that they had in the beginning was great, but the music, it was forgettable.
It was unremarkable. It wasn't bad.
No. Like something like Watakoi. Like, that's something you remember.
Yeah, definitely.
You definitely remember that opening. And that song is, like, really catchy. The animation matches up extremely well.
Yeah, it almost tells the whole story of the show.
Yep.
In the opening animation, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty decent category. Same story, ending sequence. We have Megalobox for ending Attack on Titan Season 3, which I really like the art style of. After the Rain, Fully Coolly Alternative, Fully Coolly Progressive, and Review Starlight. Again, I mean, sure, it's Fully Coollyverse, but was there really two different Fully Coolly shows that came out in 2018?
It's, I think they're just different. So, I mean, I don't see a world where one of those Fully Coolies don't win this, because the pillows are incredibly popular and they are very good. And usually Fully Coolies sequences are pristine.
I can't argue either one of those, but I mean, is it the same series? Should it be allowed to have two entries in the final?
That is quite
subjective.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a real problem.
Yeah,
to do that, something like that.
And then back on Attack on Titan 3, like I said, the art style was good for the closing. I don't really know if the music fit it as well as some others. Like After the Rain's ending music was great, as well as the art during the closing sequence.
I mean, I feel like After the Rain, the opening was better than the ending, but
it's a really good series. You should definitely check it out if you haven't watched it.
I have checked it out.
Oh. That was more towards the people that haven't. Okay. What?
I thought you were talking to me.
No. Why would I talk to you?
I don't know.
So, the next category that is in the Crunchyroll Anime Awards is going to be
Japanese voice acting.
Yep, best voice acting performance, and this is Japan. So we have. Go ahead.
Mamoru Miyano from Zombieland Saga, Soma Saito from Skullface Bookseller Honda-san.
Mm-hmm.
Megami Han. Megumin? No. Megami Han from Devil May Cry Baby. Now Toyama from Laid Back Camp. Reku from Agretsuko. What is this category again? And then Reina Ueda from SSS Gridman.
This category is best vocal performance. So basically, you have here the actor's name, the character's name, and then the show that they're from.
Okay. So I was just naming off
the shows.
The Japanese voice actors.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, so it was Kotaro Tatsumi from Zombieland Saga, Honda-san from Honda-san. Miki Makamura from Devil May Cry Baby, Rin Shima Laid Back Camp, Retsuko from Regretsuko, and Akane Shinjo from Gridman.
Yeah. So, again, like, I watched a lot of the shows, almost all the shows that I watch dubbed. So this is a really good category for single performance in a show. I actually don't have a problem with shorts being included with this because voice acting is voice acting. If you're emoting properly, you're drawing the viewer in to what's happening with the characters and creating that environment and creating an immersion. It doesn't matter if it's a 4-minute series or a 24-minute series.
Yeah.
So this is good. I would like to see a best voice performance category like per show. You know, like the voice acting. If the voice acting was great across the board with all the character voice actors for a show, I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah, I mean that'd be good if there was enough possible contenders. There rarely is though.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, that category seems fine.
It's good.
The next one was the English one.
Yeah, we have best voice acting performance for English. First, we have Carl Walgan playing as Haruko Haruhara in Fully Coolly Alternative. Christopher Sabat playing All Might in My Hero Academia Season 3. He played All Might as well as the form that he took when he was weakened as well. And the change in voice dynamic was pretty good, I thought. Erica Mendez playing Retsuko from Agretsuko. David Wald as the narrator from Mr. Tonegawa of Middle Management Blues. Tia Ballard, 02, Darling in the Franz. And Erica Harlacher playing Violet Evergarden in the show of the same name. Now, I watched a couple episodes of Mr. Tonegawa in Japanese, and the narrator definitely had a very busy job keeping up. I haven't watched the dub of this show. But as I said, most of the shows that I watch are subtitled because, in my opinion, in most cases, the Japanese voice actors do a lot more to carry across the emotion of what the writer intended, and what the maybe even the manga or light novel author intended, versus what a lot of American shows do. And plus, with the American shows, you like, say for example, I've watched a lot of Fairy Tail. You come across some of the same voice actors, I actually get lost in it breaks the immersion for me when I'm like, oh, that person, that was Urza from Fairy Tail. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm just using that as an example, but you know, in the case of Christopher Sabat and All Might, that was a very, very fitting choice.
Yeah, I think he did a good job with that.
Yeah.
The only, for me, a category like this is like, so these people have to, well, to me, they have to live up to people like Johnny Young Bosch and Steve Bloom.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to do that.
I mean, you have legends in the field.
There's been a lot of very bad subtitled or English dub shows. And that's because that the people that they get to do it, you can tell that they don't care.
Right.
You know? And when you get someone good like Chris Sabat to do All Might, it's very noticeable. And it really overshadows everything else.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed in this category as well for like dub voice actors is that they don't really get paid a whole lot, so they don't care. You know, you have somebody who's a veteran of the industry like Chris Sabat, and he made his name voicing, you know, a lot of characters that we know and love over a long period of time. I mean, he did voice acting in Fairy Tail, he did voice acting in Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z. So, you know, he's definitely a pro. He's definitely, you know, I would say a legend for dub.
Yeah, it just feels like that it's a very small pool that you pick from. You know?
Yeah, that's also true. I kind of wanted to back up a little bit. You know, when we were talking about opening sequences and ending sequences, there was definitely a category that they included in last year's awards that got forgotten for this year, and that's best score, like best music during the show.
I mean, that's just Fairy Tail, right? Like Fairy Tail wins every year, right?
You'd think so. I mean, but So Many Colors had a really good music in it as well.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
it did.
So I'd have to say that even if a show doesn't win for best score, even showcasing them in the nominees would highlight the work that was done.
I mean,
by making the show more atmospheric,
Yeah, but then this, I feel like this year would have just been outdone by Fooly Cooly with the score, because it's all the pillows. It's just the pillows doing their thing, and they're good at doing their thing.
Yeah, you can't get wrong with there. Leaving there, we're actually going to move on to some more controversial categories. We're skipping down past the voice actor performances that we went over, and we're actually going to move on to best director.
Yeah. For this one, I'm just going to name off the shows that the directors were in. So the first one was Devilman Crybaby. Next is A Place Further Than the Universe, Megalobox, Planet With, Violet Evergarden, and Banana Fish.
Yeah.
So this is a category where there needs to be criteria for it, right?
Right. What is the generic? Best director is probably one of the most generic categories you can have.
Yeah. Is it because their breakout was really good? Is it because
the show was popular?
The show was popular. Is it because the way that they edited it? It doesn't.
Was the art direction good? Was the voice direction good? Was the volume and when they chose to add the score into the show? Was that what made it stand out? I mean, that's so very vague. And there's so many different jobs that either a single director does or multiple directors do during the course of production of these shows that I think that this is just to have it left at best director leaves a whole lot to be desired.
Yeah. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't encompass the entirety of how difficult it is. And even so, even if you were best director, well, did this best director do the best they could with the budget that they had?
Yeah.
You can have without specific criteria beyond the four bullet points that were defined by Crunchyroll. What specifically made these shows have good direction?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. So
but the thing is, it's not even best direction; it's best director.
Right.
It would kind of made a little more sense if it was just best direction, but even then it would be very broad.
Yeah. Yeah. So
there's just so many variables that you can include in something like this, where without some sort of criteria,
it's purely subjective and based on so many different aspects that it's hard to even for me to even think back and say, okay, this show would be something that I would agree was well directed. In live action, you have the director making sure that the lighting is the way he wants it. The director is talking to the actor to make sure that he delivers the lines and has the correct facial expressions. The director is talking with the cameraman and saying, "Okay, I want you to pan from here to here." He's setting up each individual shot. And in the case of a lot of these animes, I mean, they're literally just unless they're translating from light novel, they're literally just copying the shots and trying to animate the shots that were in the manga.
Yeah, maybe that's what they were going for, but again, we don't know.
We don't know. So, and then the next category, which I think is a little bit, maybe a little bit problematic, is best animation. So, we have Violet Evergarden from Kyoto, Devilman Crybaby again from Science Saru, Megalobox from TMS Entertainment, 3X Cube, A Place Further Than the Universe, Madhouse, Bloom Into You from Troika, and My Hero Academia Season 3 from Bones.
So since we're pretty deep into the categories, you already start to see a lot of repeats.
Yeah.
A ton of repeats throughout all the categories. So They wanted it, so they decided that they didn't want repeats within the same category having the same show.
Yeah.
Which is funny because FL Fooly Cooley had 2 nominations
for music. Yeah.
For music. Fine, whatever. But the real problem is it's the same one for every single category. Or it's not the same one, but you're seeing like Devilman Crybaby, you're seeing Violet Evergarden, you're seeing Megalobox appear over and over again in a lot of these categories.
And a lot of these vague categories too. If you look back up at Best Director, you know, hey look, Devilman Crybaby. A Place Further Than the Universe, and you've pretty much got the clones in Best Animation, except for Bloom Into You. Which
also the best part about this is I'm pretty sure Violet Evergarden and Devilman Crybaby are only on Netflix. It's not even on Crunchyroll.
Still, I mean, if they're, I get it. You know, should Crunchyroll only give awards to shows that were on their platform, or should they try to expand to be bigger and try to include more of the community?
Yeah, but then how are their community supposed to vote for it if they've never seen it?
Right? You know, we hope that you vote for this because by giving money to some of our competitors. Like that's the reasoning and logic behind it.
It's fine. I mean,
yeah.
Sure, if that's what they want to do, that's great. But like,
so
the animation. I mean, I'll get into this later, but it's fine to have Best Animation. But again, it's very broad, and there's got to be a really good reason to why it was nominated.
Yeah.
Like, Violet Evergarden looks great. The animation looks great, right? Devilman Crybaby, the animation for its style is great. Megalobox, again, for its style is great. Place Further Than Universe, animation is great, just like Violet Evergarden. Bloom Into You, same as A Place in the Universe. My Hero Academia, they got a big budget, so it's gonna look good.
Yeah.
But the problem is we're mixing
styles.
We're mixing style and animation like it's the same thing. And things like Devilman Crybaby and Megalobox, sure, the animation was good, but it wasn't on the level of something like Violet Evergarden, right?
Right.
What stands out is their style of animation that made it really good. But is that something that you include in animation?
Like, is it... Yeah, what is this category? Is it animation quality? Is it lighting? Is it backgrounds? Is it foreground? Is it like... Say, for example, on the picture that we see from Violet Evergarden, is she walking... She's walking across a field or through some grass, whatever. Throughout the whole series, is her hair and clothes affected by the wind? Did they take potential...
Yeah.
Attention to detail...
Yeah,
through all that, and then with the criteria that Violet Evergarden has for best animation,
the vistas,
is that the same criteria that they use for Devilman? You know, so it's, and thirdly, let's bring in Megalobox. So these characters in Megalobox are extremely detailed.
Yeah. But and they're very, what's the word? A lot of the character design comes from, or a lot of the art design comes from, what, 90s animes is what they're getting their inspiration from, basically.
For Megalobox, yeah, certainly.
So it has a very unique style, right? And
well, I mean, if all these animes were shot at 30 frames throughout the entire thing, and they paid attention to lighting on the characters as well as background, and the whole thing was just high production, basically this category could also be renamed highest production quality,
I guess. But again, you need to have the criteria, right? Like, there needs to be criteria for each category, and
publicly known criteria as well,
so that you know what you're voting for. Unless it's all community based, then it doesn't matter, right? It's just whatever the community thinks is the best.
Yeah. So there's other shows that aired in 2018 that had really high animation quality that aren't here, So, I mean, your Rodoku, really high animation quality, really good art style. Double Decker, Double Deck, I didn't really like the show because of the narrative behind it, but it was really well drawn, really high quality.
Yeah, it was.
Had good foregrounds, good backgrounds.
Oh, also the ending scene was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Attack on Titan 3. Also a very high budget, very good quality anime, but it's also not listed. I mean, I get that
Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online Alicization. Also high quality, good budget, also not listed. I mean, I get that you're trying to pick the best animation quality from probably 15 to 20 really well produced shows and narrow it down to 6.
Yeah.
But
I understand some people.
A, what are the criteria, and B, why do we have so many repeats? Are these shows just that much of a order of magnitude better than the others that, you know,
and things
they deserve repeating?
Things like Megalobox and Devilman Crybaby getting to so many. It just like Megalobox, I feel like it's getting chosen for because of the nostalgia factor, which is it's not correct. And then Devilman Crybaby is getting chosen a lot because of how perverse it is, and which is again, these are very subjective things that should not be included when deciding a nomination or a nominee for a category.
Well, at least for best animation, you know, you can like for an animation, would originality be included in best animation? So
probably, yeah.
Yeah. The next category we have is best film, and you know, I'm sure that they use a multitude of categories to decide best film, whether it's ratings, whether it's art style, whether it's animation quality, you know, voice acting, direction, art direction.
Yeah, now something like best film this is something I would trust judges to.
Yeah. So we've got The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, My Hero Academia, Two Heroes, Mirai of the Future, Liz and the Bluebird, Mazinger Z, Infinity, and Fireworks. And honestly, because films generally have a bigger budget than just series and shows, having a best overall nominee category of nominees and a winner in just films, because there's so many less films than there are series, is fine.
Yeah, and sometimes it's worth noting them.
Yeah.
Noting which ones, because some of them are really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good to have its own category. And again, that was something that was brought over from last year.
Yeah. It's a good category. Mm-hmm. And the next we're going to move on to, I think, another controversial or problematic category is best character design.
Yeah, so we got Violet Evergarden, Devilman Crybaby, Zombieland Saga, Megalobox, Agretzko, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, right away, we already see a problem.
Yeah.
Each one of these shows have a very unique style.
Yeah.
So what? Basically, to me, it feels like they named this category incorrectly. It should have been best style and not best character design.
Right. And what is character design? Is it a single? Is it like for some of these you have for each one is the title of the show, and I get that. But some of these characters have been previously designed. Let's look at JoJo. The JoJo characters were designed decades ago. You know, if they've been refreshed with like modern artwork, that's one thing. But the character design is nothing new.
Right.
Same story for Agricoutso. You know, it's from the same company that invented Hello Kitty. It's chibi animal characters. There's not really anything new here. These characters have already been designed previously. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, without criteria, you don't really know.
I mean,
like what's going to happen is people are just going to vote what they think was the best style for them.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not going to be based off.
You have a semi-serious style of Violet Evergarden. You have more of a, I wouldn't want to say tropey, but kind of a dark tropey style for Zombieland Saga.
Yeah, you got
a very dark style in Devilman Crybaby.
Nostalgic style from Megalobox. Cutesy style from Agretzko.
And then an older, like say, I would say 80s style anime from JoJo, yeah. which is really its own signature style. I mean, you can look and see some of the, because of these shows an anime were developed in the same era, you can see some similarity in the designs from JoJo characters to, say, Hunter x Hunter characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say both of those animes were in the same style. And disregarding all that, though, disregarding those problems and those differences and variances between the show, if you are truly choosing character design, are you looking at single characters? Are you looking at the clothing that they wear and then the hair that they have? Are you looking at the facial features? Are you looking at the detail to which they were designed? As far as like looking at Megalobox, those characters are incredibly detailed, and you're gonna find it hard pressed to have that amount of detail in Agricouzzo, which is a very simple design,
right?
A simple looking design. So, what are the actual criteria for best character design? As well as there's a few shows that I think that got snubbed for character design that aren't included. So I've talked about character detail, character design. Part of the design is their development. How do they change? In action sequences or through weather, does their appearance change? Do they get injured? Does their hair get tousled? Do their clothes get dirty, messed up, or torn? Are the character designs actually original? Is originality a part of the criteria?
Is it unique?
Yeah.
We just don't know what the criteria is.
Is there a difference between all of the characters in a specific show? Like, I'll give you a show that didn't get any nods on this list. Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer, none of the characters have names. But each character has to be unique so that when they're in the shot, you know who they are, you know what role they're playing, because they don't have much else to differentiate them as far as like name or originality. They're certainly kind of tropey characters, but when you see Goblin Slayer's armor, you know that's Goblin Slayer. Mm-hmm. When you see the Lizard Man in his feathered headdress, you can see that he's a lizard man. He plays a shaman, and his character design as far as his outfit reflects that.
And they each are very different from each other.
They are.
No one is the same.
And even the side characters that only feature in an episode or two are uniquely drawn, uniquely dressed, and have unique, backgrounds and personality. So those are all aspects of character design, and I would say that the diversity of character design in a single show would be a reason to nominate a show for something.
Yeah. Versus
just how different they are from each other.
And even something like Double Decker, their character design, like Double Decker isn't even in here. I feel like.
Yeah, and I didn't really like that show that much, but each character was unique. You looked at a character, and
that was the point. That was really the point of it, is having each character is very unique.
Yeah, you could almost tell a little bit about what their story was going to be, what their motivation was going to be because of the design of that character.
And yeah, you could tell what their personality was too.
Yeah. So I mean,
I think this was just incorrectly categorized
for what they chose. I don't think that the judges understood character design versus art style.
Right.
So
style in general.
Yeah, or show style in general.
I don't know.
And then the next category we're looking at is almost completely full of repeats. So we've got
it's go down, go up. Okay, let's go. It's all repeats. So
no, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's A Place Further Than the Universe, Devilman Crybaby, Megalobox, Violet Evergarden, Hinamatsuri, and Zombieland Saga.
Right.
For Anime of the
Year. So nothing, for A Place Further Than the Universe, had a lot of other nominations and a lot of other categories. Direction, art, is great. Devilman Crybaby. I mean, there's no category for best story. I don't even know what this is about. But anime of the year, I mean, I haven't seen really much about it in any of the online forums, blogs that I look at. But apparently, because of content and how perverse it is, it's going to get best. It's got a nomination for best anime of the year.
Put that watch on Devilman Crybaby. Nice. Just takes you to Netflix. All right, go back. Fantastic. Good job.
Yeah.
All right.
Megalobox. Is this really a?
So what this looks to it looks to me that a lot of this, basically these animes of the year, were just picked from the pool of recently nominated animes for the categories that they had. It looks like that the pool came out of those animes for all of the categories combined.
To be honest, I would expect an anime that's up for anime of the year to have featured in other categories. However, Hinamatsuri only features in best. She only features in best fight and then best girl. There's no other category in which it's featured. Like, is it best art, best character design? No. And
normally, what I think makes sense is if you have one that has competition for like two different categories, then it's almost, or more than two categories, right? It almost seems like that it shouldn't, unless it is very above and beyond in that category, it shouldn't be chosen for that category, but instead be more considered for anime of the year because they do so many things so well.
I don't disagree with you too much.
It depends on how well it's done. Like something like Violet Evergarden. Violet Evergarden showed up a lot, and
yeah,
it is quite possible that could be anime of the year.
And then the reviews that I've watched for and read for Zombieland Saga were very mixed.
Yeah,
you had some people that loved the crap out of it, and some people that just wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Same thing for Hinamatsuri.
Yep. And
I've actually heard nothing but good things about Megalobox.
Except for the last episode.
So, yeah, apparently it's a 12er that has 11 and a half good episodes. So I'm prepared for, what I'm guesstimating might be $1 million baby episode ending. And I really haven't heard that much about Devilman Crybaby.
Yeah.
Except for going over this list. So before I make any judgments on whether or not I feel that any of these should be included, I'm certainly going to finish all of these series.
Yeah, but at this point, I just become quite jaded, and I don't expect anything less from these showing up just because of what I've seen in the earlier categories.
Yeah.
Like it's not really anything surprising that these ones would show up again.
Yeah, no, it sounds like the hive mind was alive and well for these judges in deciding what they felt was good and what in certain categories as well as overall.
I mean, it seems like a lot of stuff could have been pushed out, and a lot of judges just don't have anything really that they care about to vote on.
Yeah. So, next we have sponsored categories, and these sponsored categories are specific, and they, again, they have to have the same 4 criteria that the rest of them of the categories had, but these nominations weren't chosen by the judges. From what we read, Capcom reached out to a publishing company and said, "Hey, publishing company, we want to do this kind of category. Can you pick us 6 nominations of best fight scene?" And since Capcom is a company that produces a lot of fighting video games, and there's a lot of crossover between anime fans and video game fans, it seems like it'd be a good way to go.
Yeah, it seems fine.
And so you think that these, because these outsiders are picking these fight scenes, you would think that they wouldn't know what they're talking about. However, I'm sure that because they're a
I mean, they're going to be...
They're going to be impartial because they're professional.
They're going to be unbiased. They're going to be more unbiased than the judges.
Yeah.
Especially with what they told the judges to basically pick it on your own, pick the nominees on your own individual reasonings or whatever.
So this is a marketing company that wants to make Capcom look good by giving good choices under the Capcom name.
Yeah, it's just
so I don't feel that they're
very
going to choose bad fight scenes at all.
And
So the fight scenes that they've chosen for the nominations, we have Hina vs. Anzu and Hinamatsuri. All for One versus All Might for My Hero Academia Season 3. Naruto vs. Sasuke versus Momoshiki and Naruto Next Generations. Jiren vs. Goku for Dragon Ball Super. Yami vs. Light, Black Clover. And Satan vs. Devilman in Devilman Crybaby. So, I've watched 3 of these fight scenes. And the 3 of the fight scenes that I've watched were really good fights.
I mean, they're all really good fights.
Yeah.
To be honest. And they did a good job, I think, picking the nominees.
No.
One issue I have is the fight scene in Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Season 3, where it's the humans versus the humans, and they're all shooting around with their crazy gear,
Cable gear,
cable gear or whatever. That was very well done.
Yeah, the concept for that fight was out of this world.
It was very well done.
You brought up another one too that you felt might have had a good inclusion.
Yeah, well, I mean, like One Piece. It seems odd that One Piece wouldn't be in here. That all the fight scenes, the numerous fight scenes that One Piece probably had this year, and it's not even mentioned. Like none of them are mentioned. That just seems kind of odd to me. Unless they're all not good fight scenes,
Right. And then there's also another fight scene that we watched that was really epic. Not only was it really well animated and was the climax for the series, but it also well, actually, I kind of made my second point in the first one. Not only was it really well animated, but it was also the climax for the series.
Mm-hmm.
In that fight scene at the end of Boarding School Juliet.
Well, I'd say both the beginning and the end of Boarding School Juliet. Like those were very well placed fight scenes, and
and very well animated fight scenes.
In the beginning, it set the groundwork for the entire story, and then at the end, it served as a very satisfying conclusion.
Yeah.
And to me, that almost seems more like of a art direction or a good direction for the story, like story direction.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's fine not being in the fight scene or best fight scene category. Maybe it needs to have some other category with like direction, because the way that was laid out, it was very well done.
Well, that could have also been something that the manga artist and the author of the manga
it's probably
collaborated on and made a very good manga.
Yeah,
to have those things be the opening and closing.
Yeah, that's probably where it came from.
Yeah, another fight scene that was very climactic, and really had a good multi-episodic and actually multi-seasonal build up to was All for One versus All Might, or All for One versus One for All.
Yeah,
and that was a really really fantastic climactic fight scene. Even though, I mean, I'll be honest with you, as far as like animation and length,
mm-hmm.
I kind of felt that there was more tension that was built up and released during the fight than the actual quality of the fight deserved.
Right.
You know, it was very tense and it was very, very emotional, very fitting, very climactic. But I've also seen multiple other better fights.
Yeah.
If you just take the fight on its own.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all in all, those are the Crunchyroll.
Well, there's
Oh no! Scratch that. Yeah, there's another category, another sponsored category.
Yep. Sponsored by Verve. And it's best continuing series. Ancient Magus Bride, Dragon Ball Super, Black Clover, March Comes In Like a Lion, One Piece, Boruto.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
So
Is that really it? Yeah.
that's really it's only the 6.
All right. Well,
Again, you have a lot of series that probably did make the top 12. Oh, if there were a top 12, I think that there are some better series that are ongoing than some of the series that are chosen. Like, I've never watched March Comes In Like a Lion. And Boruto and One Piece are certainly popular anime.
So the only thing I feel like the criteria for this is what started in 2017 and then came across over in 2018.
I don't think so, because March Comes In Like a Lion's on its 3rd season. There's no way that One Piece started in 2017.
Yeah.
And there's no way that Boruto started in 2017 either.
I don't know.
So
I mean, I don't know how this works.
There's so many other good series that could have been here. I'm not going to argue with any of these series, being here for any particular reason. Yeah, but I'd also like to have seen a nod to go out to, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia.
The problem is a category like this is going to be very difficult to come up with 6.
Yeah,
because you're basically.
And you've also got a short here too.
It's like you're choosing anime of the year from
previous years.
I don't know. It's very difficult to come up with a
Yeah. Also wanted to take a look at last year's winners. So we're gonna start here and then move all the way around to the last one. So I'll take one and you take the other, the next one. So best girl was Ochako Uraraka from My Hero Academia.
Best boy is Todoroki.
Best manga was My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness.
Best hero was Deku.
Best villain was Stain.
Best action, My Hero Academia.
Best drama, The Ancient Magus' Bride.
Best comedy, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Best CGI, Land of the Lustrous.
Best film, Your Name.
Definitely a good choice. Best score, Made in Abyss.
Best animation, My Hero Academia.
Best ending, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Best opening, My Hero Academia.
Best continuing series, March Comes In Like a Lion Season 2.
Best Slice of Life, Girls Last Tour.
Anime of the Year, Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss. So that was the 2017 winners. And if you notice, the categories have, while several of them stayed the same, and technically most of them stayed the same, there are different genres that were featured. We don't have best action, best drama, best comedy, best slice of life anymore. They've been nixed. How can a slice of life compete with any action series when you're talking about best anime? And I think that having these different categories and being able to see the nominations for them will actually bring attention to some really good shows in some less popular categories.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that I've seen that action anime is usually the most popular.
Right.
But my greatest enjoyment over the last year and a half has been finding those niche, like, slice of life romance animes and really just enjoying myself while I'm getting some wholesome entertainment. Mm-hmm. So, one other thing that I wanted to bring up is some of the feedback that Crunchyroll has gotten on their website about how their viewers and how their subscribers feel these nominations went.
Yeah.
So we've got a user, LWA Bones.
Probably shouldn't. Just don't say the name.
To be honest with you, like I said, the link, I'm going to put it in the description. And when you're done reading the article about what they did to kind of choose the judges and then have the animes chosen and the processes that they use, the comments are certainly worth reading, as well as for community feedback, as well as if you read far enough, there's some definitely good ideas on how the community could have been more involved and we could have gotten a better idea on what the community wanted to see, which in the end result is the target demographic, versus just what these so-called reviewers wanted to see, which were their judges.
Yeah.
Aside from that, let us know in the comments what you think. And Schultzie-Sama and I were actually talking about going over the anime that we liked and we watched, and making our own list with some categories as well. So I think that we were going to get something together over the next couple weeks and give out our own awards for more useless internet points, right about the same time that Crunchyroll's announcing their awards.
Yeah.
So, once again, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the comment, and if you could, give us an idea about what you think. Might have been problematic or should be included.
Or what show was missing.
Or, shows that were missing or snubbed. Aside from that, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Zero Goblin Slayer.
Definitely. A joke. You should have those crappy headphones.